welcome back to my channel. My name is Bilikis. How you all doing? Welcome back to a brand new tutorial which will be on how to make a lovely top with an asymmetrical neckline with a lovely collar on it. As you can see on the mannequin, looking so beautiful. I will make sure the tutorial is very detailed, as I will show you step by step on how to go about this, so you can see what we are actually making today, and it's looking so beautiful. So right now, let's go to the work table to get started. You will need your fabric and then your basic sleeve. You can either get your pattern or you draw directly on your fabric. So let's quickly go over the top. And for this type of top, you can make use of any type of dart. You can have it dartless, you can have a waist dart, a princess dart, even a shoulder dart. Yes, you can have any type of dart you want for it. But let's just say this is a free top. So here I just have a little fabric, as you can see, so about half a yard, because I want just from the nape of the neck to the waist. But if you want it straight down, then you will have to take the length of the top and your hip measurement. So all I did is to fold into two. So this will be for the front and this will be for the back. So the length I'm making for a medium size, that's about 38. So the length of the waist measurement is 17 inches. So first I will start with the baseline, and the next thing is to insert first half of the armhole measurement. For her it is 7.5. Like for me it is 8.5 inches. Then after that you go to your waist. For her it is 17. And 17. Make a straight line. So if you're having it straight to your hip, then you insert, like for her it is 22. So I'm just gonna insert 22 inches. That would be for the hip line, and then the length of the top will just be 24. That's good. So the next thing we are going to do now is to insert the 3 inches, 8 inches standard as usual to get the armhole. So from the 8 inches you come down by 1 inch. So our shoulder measurement is 15, and half of 15 is 7.5. Then come to half of the armhole and insert 7.5. After doing that, the next thing is to determine the armhole. First, get the midpoint from the slope down. So this is the midpoint. From that point, you come in by 3/4 inch. Then you form your armhole. So this will be for the front. And then the back. So the next thing is to insert the bust measurement. The bust circumference is 38. When I divide that by 4, that's going to give me 9.5. So you can add ease to make it free, like quarter or half. So 9.5 plus extra 1 inch for size seam allowance, that will make it 10.5. Then for the waist here, it is 30 inches. When I divide it by 4, that will give me 7.5. So you're adding a dart, so extra 1 inch for that, then the seam allowance. But because this is just a free top, all I will do is to deduct half an inch from whatever I have on the bust line. So here is 10.5. I'm just going to make it 10. So even with this, you can still take your dart. You can have a princess dart, any type at all. But I'm just making a free top, just as seen on the thumbnail. So just that you make it straight to your hip. So having done that, the next thing I'm going to do here is to come to the neck region. Like for myself, I will maintain 3 inches because you want the collar to be as close as possible to your neck. So because I'm making for a medium-sized person, I'm going to make it 2.5. 2.5 is here, and you see that. So that's what I will do. Note the point, and then we can cut out. So I'm going to cut the back armhole. So here, don't forget to add half an inch seam allowance at the shoulder. So note this is the 2.5 point. So for a plus size, you make use of 3 inches. So I'm just going to cut here up to that point, and then add half an inch seam allowance. So I'm just eyeballing it. You can mark yours. So can you see I've added the seam allowance? I can separate it. This will be for the back. So let's quickly finish the front. What I'll do now is to make sure right side are facing each other. The next thing here is to determine wherever you want the neck, of the shoulder to be. So let's just say I want it on this side. Then you need to note the center point. So with the crease and the chalk, I know it is this point. You can just notch it with your scissors. That's very important, because in carving out the neckline, let's just say on the average, let it be up by 5. Yes, 5 here. So with this straight line, 5 is here. So that is the point where it's going to be held by. So we need also the sleeve to do that. Note these 2 points. For a plus size, you can make it 5.5, but 5 is good for all sizes. The next thing I will do now is to insert the neck depth on the center part. So since I made use of 2.5, I'll just make use of the same 2.5. If you are making use of 3, you can make use of 3 too. Even a plus size, you can make use a width of 3 by 2.5 is still okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is this. From that center point, connect straight to this part. Good. Then you come to this part. From here, just make a straight line. Everything is going to be straight at the end of the day. So that's what it's going to look like. So this is going to be cut off. Now this is what we are going to have. Then another thing you need to do is to take the measurement of both the front bodies and the back bodies. Like for the front, that's, let me check. I have 5 inches for the front. Then for the back, I have 4.5. So those measurements are very vital. So right now, let us draft the sleeve. My basic sleeve, I cut out 2 sleeves, but they are different. Looking at this very one is just the exact sleeve I have here. And you see that the exact sleeve. So that will be for the part where it's going to have the full sleeve. So let's set that aside. Here I have the other part whereby we will be cutting off some parts. Looking at it, I left some seam allowance here. Why? You will understand as we go on. I placed the pattern on the fabric on fold and then left some seam allowance, just like the one we have on the mannequin. I need to join it up later after attaching the collar. So just leave half an inch for that. So now let's quickly cut out the other part. Then before you remove your pattern, just note the cap's height. Here, this is the cap's height, as you can see here. So I can remove, so that is it. So from that, just come up by half an inch. So that is where we are going to pull out. This is the actual cap's height. Then I came up by half an inch. So now what I'm going to do is this. Here, this is the front armhole, and this is the back, because it will be on this side of the top. So that is why this is the front panel and the back panel. That's very important. So let me note the. So this is the actual one we need here. That's very important. So let us place the measurement. For the front, I think I measured 5 inches. So I'm going to measure that here. Take your time. 5 inches is here for the front. And then for the back, I measured 4.5. If you haven't done that, you can connect to the ruler. So this is for the front. And for the back, take your time to do all this. This is for the back. So I'll connect this to this point. Everything is still going to come out straight. Remember, it has a seam allowance here. To make it easier for you, you can just notch that part. Okay, just to be sure. So this is the seam allowance point. That is the seam allowance point. Let me notch it. Good. So let's start joining. Top, this is the of the shoulder sleeve. You can see the where we use the cap's height to cut off, and then this part is going to be joining this part. Yes. So haven't done that. The next thing is this is the full sleeve that will be attached to this very part. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to just do what? Make sure right side are facing each other. Make sure the right side are facing each other this way. Then I'm going to sew the half an inch we left at the shoulder. After sewing it up, the next thing is to attach, for this full sleeve, you can attach the sleeve to it after joining the shoulder. Then just sew it up by the side, 1 inch all through, 1 inch here, 1 inch here. Then we'll come back. The other side that has the full sleeve, I've attached the sleeve and then sewed the 1 inch straight down, hem the sleeve opening. Now for this other side, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to sew in the 1 inch seam allowance all down and then going to the sleeve. Remember there's seam allowance here and needs to be slitted, but I don't want to do that now. Or you can't do it, but I don't want a situation whereby it will be moving here and there. So I want to attach it first to the bodies before slitting it open. So what do? All I have to do is, after sewing in the side seam allowance here, then I'll come over to this point and also turn this to the wrong side and then sew in the 1 inch by the side all down. Then after doing that, will I now join the sleeve to the basic bodice? Can you see? First I'm going to sew up the side 1 inch, then the sleeve 1 inch, then attach it here. So everything will just match front to front, back to back. Attach the sleeve now to the bodies and you can see how beautiful that looks. Though you might see it looking somehow, but it's going to be straight by the time you put it on. Can you see that? Everything is still going to come out straight. So the next thing we are going to do now is to cut out the collar. And looking at this side, you will still see the seam allowance is still intact. I should open up the seam, but I still leave that until I cut out the collar. That's why I leave it there, but I've notched the point whereby I'm going to sew it down. But in case if you are perfect, to try as much as possible to get the measurement of the collar, you might just cut out the normal sleeve rather than just sewing up the side. If you can do that. But for beginners, I will use this method. Also, the one I have on the mannequin, I did it the same way. So now I'll be using this fabric for the collar. So all I did is to get a fabric, because we are going to be cutting out two to sew in the others to turn it up. So what I did is to get a fabric, first fold it into two, then again into two. Is to place the bodice now on the very fabric for the collar. So can you see that? Make sure this part is straight. Make sure it is straight. That is very, very important. So you just leave this way it is, but make sure this point is straight. Then you can start marking it. Because this has to slip on the shoulder. Take your time. With the notch, this is the point where the collar is going to stop, because we are going to be sewing this in. But remember, we are going to need some seam allowance to turn the collar, that is those sharp edges, to turn it in. So all you will do is just take the measurement to the end. Those were the reason why I refused to slit this up in the first place, so that I won't have it moving around. Can you see what I did? So, and then here also, this point we are still going to add seam allowance, because we are going to be joining the two together. So you can see that this look is clear. Here I'm going to add 1/2 inch seam allowance to that point. Although that point is going to be closed, so we need this 1/2 inch. We've already added 1/2 inch for the end of the collar. So good. Since we've gotten that, the next thing is to measure out. I want it to be 3.5 inches. I'll just measure out 3.5 inches. So we're just taking 1/4 inch on this side, 1/4 inch on this side. So let's just measure 3.5 all around. Take your time. Can you see? So when I get here, the pointed part of the collar, I'm just going to extend it out. You can either make it straight, but please just make sure you extend it a little. Then the 3.5. So 3.5 is here. So just make sure it is straight into this part. So that is it. Now I can cut it out. So with this now I can slit the sleeve to open it up. The collar is ready. Do is to separate it 2 each. This is 2 and this is also 2. What I will do is to take the sewing machine first, so 1/2 inch here and 1/2 inch here. Then we'll come. I've sewn the half an inch seam allowance and just trim off a bit. So if you are making any type of collar at all, you need an interfacing to make it more stable. So you can use this lightest one here or the medium one, depending on the weight of the fabric you're making use of. But because I'm making a tutorial, I'm just going to ignore this part, but please make sure you use an interfacing to it. So the next thing I'm going to do is this. Make sure right side are facing each other. So that is it. So can you see that? So I'm going to start from this point. Remember, we added seam allowance to this point. That is to sew it in. So just start from that point, half an inch down here, then you sew it all around till the other point. You see that? So the next thing is to bring it out. And before you bring it out, you need to notch this point. Very, very important. You need to notch it all around. After that, then bring it all out and give it a good press. Let me just give it a good press. I've brought it all out and iron it up. So this is the bodies. So placing it on it. So can you see it actually stopped where we want it to end? So that means this is going to be sewn in. So right now I can now slit this part open. But in case you use the same sleeve measurement without adding the seam allowance, you have to make sure, for instance, this point will be here. That means you have it at this end. So you have to make sure it is accurate. If you did not have the seam allowance, it has to be accurate. Or else you have raw edges showing up at this point, which will not be nice. That is why I love this method I'm using right now. So can you see? So we are on track. The next thing now is to attach. So that means it's going to be, and you see, just place it inside. And you'll see how I did that, because at the end of the day, we want to be turning it outside. And then we are just going to sew in half an inch. So just take your time to sew it down, attach with your pin. Can you see that? Then it stopped exactly where we want it to stop. So that's that. So now I can now slit the sleeve open, and it will be easy when you are sewing it up. So this is what you're going to have. This is the sleeve now. Can you see? So I'm just going to attach it all around, and then take to my sewing machine to sew it all around, half an inch. Sew the collar all around on the wrong side. So another vital thing you need to do here is to notch all around. This is very, very important, because that is what will make it lay so well. So we can now bring it out. Let me see how lovely that just looks. Can you see? Isn't this beautiful? So beautiful. So can you see that? So I'm just going to take it to the ironing board. You can see how well that is. So now coming to this part. So all I have to do now is to take it to the wrong side. Can you see? So with this, you're going to sew very, very close. Very, very close. So can you see? So you won't have any raw edges coming out. So make sure this is inward. This also has to be inward. Let me see that. So match it so well, and you will sew very, very close to the collar, very, very close. That is why this method is good, because if you cut the actual part, you might not be able to get it so close this way. But if you can do that, all well and good. Then I'll take to the sewing machine very close, and I'm just going to close that up. How beautiful it really came out. I love it so much. So looking at this part now, can you see how that went? So beautiful. So all you have to do now is to just use a matching thread. You could just tag this down a bit from here to here, from here to here. So that's it. So easy. So what I will do now is to place it on the mannequin for you to see. This is what the top looks like, and you can see how beautiful it looks. So ensure you give this a try, and don't forget to share the link with your family and friends. In case you are interested in our online classes and sewing tools, which you see me use every now and then, please use the contact number in the description box to get in touch with us. I have to go now. Bye guys.